Hi, my name is Jesse Flippo. I'm the Director of Engineering working in the procurement organization of a large national laboratory. I'm also a bit of a science buff, and in my spare time, I've been on an 8-year journey to find potential answers to some unsolved questions. And I would like to invite you to join me on the final stretch to the finish line. So let's get there. So here's where it started. I began seeing numerous accounts by credible sources from organizations like the United States Navy, the Air Force, NASA, the Department of Defense, and others showing what they refer to as unidentified aerial phenomenon, which in my youth we called UFOs, ETs, those kinds of things. So there are three primary questions that I've been working on. Let me start by saying that these UAPs seem to hover in place and dart around unlike any technology that we've been exposed to so far. Okay, so question number one, and here's the problem. Assuming these accounts are genuine, and you never know for sure if they are, but let's just say they are real accounts of events that took place, then how could these vehicles hover, dart around, and do the things they do, which appears effortless in three-dimensional space? And most notably, without an observable propulsion mechanism or heat signature or anything else that we could recognize as the motivational force to move the object around. Question number two. If a person were to design such a game-changing mechanism, how could you test it? And question number three. Assuming you could answer question number one and number two, how could we use this technology to make our world a better place? That's a good question. So let's start with question three first, because that will set the stage for why this is an important journey. All right, so question number three, here it is. Assuming an object can move in three-dimensional space without an observable source of thrust, that would imply that the force moving the object is derived internally and the thrust does not interact externally relative to the body of the object. So what I'm saying is whatever's making these things move, there's no real motivational force that we can detect. So if we can't detect it, one might assume that the force is derived internally. And this is why cameras that have observed these objects did not detect any sort of propulsion. I mean, they have like the ability to capture heat signatures in aircraft from the US Navy and Air Force, but they're not showing any heat source, right? So there's no like observable thrust that's being, pushed out the back, front, sideways from these vehicles, and yet they move around. It's very interesting. So, an internally derived directional force is what would be needed. Hmm. If the force is derived internally and the force is, say, constant, then now you have a propulsional mechanism that would be perfect for space travel. So why is that? Well, if you have a spacecraft and it's generating a force, and that force is constant, and let's say the mass of the spacecraft is also constant, guess what? You could have a constant acceleration. That would mean no more speed limits. Well, there is the speed of light. They say that's the speed limit, but who knows? So, in other words, we can move around in space very quickly if we can harness that kind of technology that apparently people are seeing. If that could be done, imagine how we can move around in space. Think about tourism. Think about things like space mining, everything you can possibly want within our reach in unbelievable quantities. So, I'll be providing subsequent videos of this journey, so stay tuned. And most importantly, let's get there.